Hi, everyone, and welcome. We're your hosts. I am Justin.
And I'm Challee.
This podcast is a space where we explore practical ways to nurture your mind, body, and spirit to create a happier and healthier life.
The content of this podcast is intended for informational and educational purposes only. It is not a substitute for professional mental health advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Listening to this podcast does not establish a therapist-client relationship. If you are experiencing emotional distress or mental health concerns, please seek support from a licensed therapist or a qualified healthcare provider. Welcome back, everyone.
Today, we are going to be covering the topic of pregnancy and some of the stigma that goes into it, some of the feelings that we think we're supposed to have, and maybe are not. So, getting us going with this, Charlie, can you tell us a little bit about your experience with being pregnant and how maybe it follows or doesn't follow the thoughts that we have in society of what it's supposed to look like?
Yes. All right. Ta-da. 30 weeks pregnant. So I'm getting there. This is my second baby. And this pregnancy has been a lot different than the first. I was 25 when I had my son. So I am 33 now, and I never felt old until I got pregnant. And now I feel like I'm falling apart. There's been a lot of guilt about how I've been feeling. Yeah, and I've opened up to my husband about it, but that was really hard because I was just feeling so guilty because, you see like pregnancy on TV and it's such a beautiful experience and it's wonderful and you're glowing and it's a weird feel like I'm not loving it. Like I am so happy to be having a baby. Like I am so thrilled. My husband is thrilled. Like we are so excited for her to be here. But I have to tell you, this pregnancy it's not fun. It's not been fun. And I have been complaining about things. And I feel really guilty because people will be like, oh my gosh, how are you doing? And I'm like, I'm doing so good. Thanks for asking. And then inside, like I'm sitting here right now and I'm like, I have such raging heartburn that I'm afraid I'm going to open my mouth too wide and lava's going to come out. But like, you can't say that because it's not, socially acceptable.
Mhm.
Like you're bringing life into the world. This is beautiful. You're supposed to be happy. Like be happy. And it's been a struggle.
This time, and this might be very different than the time that you were pregnant before, but I really appreciate you bringing that to light because I think there's not really a space that people get to talk about this, and especially women in pregnancy during the process of being able to share that, like, okay, it's not all peaches and rainbows. Like, there are some tough parts of it, and there's not a lot of space to talk about those or to share those. And I also think that many times it's like, well, just get over it. Like you're doing great things and you're pregnant. No, like you still have to be able to feel that value and feel like you have something beyond just like growing a baby.
Yes, definitely. And I joke about this with my husband, but I feel like just a human incubator sometimes.
I've heard that. I've heard
Like people will say like, "How's the baby? How's she doing?" Like, and I just feel like I'm here too. Like,
Mhm.
hi, I'm a person. I felt that way a lot after I had my son. There was so much focus on me until he was born, and then I was like cast aside, like, did not matter. But yeah, human incubator, that's how I feel sometimes. But it's hard because like I have friends and loved ones that, like they have struggled with fertility. And I mean, my husband and I, we got pregnant like right away. And I feel guilty sometimes. Like I can't complain about my experience because there are people out there who would kill to be as miserably pregnant as I am. And I am so aware of that. But at the same time, I'm like, I need an outlet because this is not all fun like it is made out to be.
Kind of having that space for both. Like having the gratitude for, yes, I'm happy I can be in this situation, I can go through this, but also like some days it does suck and you just kind of want to let that out. So holding that in all the time can be really tough to try and make sure that you're pleasing like society in the sense of like, well, I don't want to upset anybody. I don't want to make sure, or, I want to make sure that people know that I'm grateful for this, but like some days it's tough. I can
Mhm.
imagine. I love that you brought up kind of the fertility piece because I think both are each their own struggles. I think respectively they both have their own challenges, so not lumping that into one, I think is something that would be beneficial to think of in that. Also, thinking about the piece of it being challenging of having that guilt that almost sounded like survivor's guilt in a
Yeah.
sense of like, okay, I'm happy that I have this opportunity and this is happening, but I also that in the same sense know that not everybody has that opportunity. So that can be really challenging and that has its own space as well. What do you think has been some of the challenging parts of this pregnancy versus the last one? When you talk about that like being in a different place than when you were before.
I let's see, I was in much better shape because I was young and had a great metabolism, so I definitely was in better shape when I got pregnant with Richard, and this pregnancy, I was not in the best shape, and my body just hurts, like, everything hurts, and it's really hard to function, like, day to day. I mean, Justin got to witness it when we were, like, in session, and I started having back spasms. Now, I had sciatica when I was pregnant with Richard. That's when I first experienced it, but I went to a chiropractor, and it was pretty much at bay. Like, it was annoying, but it wasn't anything like it is now. And also, I didn't work with kids, whereas now I work with kids, so it's a lot of up and down on the floor, getting up, and it's been hard the entire pregnancy because the sciatica started almost right away. And now, like, I still see my chiropractor, but it's not as effective as it was when I was younger. So I'm still having a lot of sciatic pain. There are days where I like dread walking to my car because the pain is just unreal. So yeah, my body hurts a lot more. And I am exhausted all the time. I remember the whole first trimester, I was like, okay, they keep telling me I just got to make it to the second trimester and I'm going to get this big boost of energy. And it just never came. And I've just been very tired. And now I joke with my boss and my colleagues, but I say like I schedule naps into my day. Like if when I'm scheduling clients, like I try to have like a 2-hour gap in the middle of my day that I can just take a cat nap. Otherwise, it's really hard to get through the day because sometimes I'm working till like 6 or 7, sometimes 8. It's hard.
In that same sense where, in my head, I'm like, oh, like just go grab a cup of coffee or have some that can't happen either. There's also limitations of what you're able to do to be able to minimize some of those things that you're experiencing it. You're kind of just having to deal with it on life's terms. And I know that there are so many different things that impact the baby well in pregnancy, and I know that's something you've tried to really prioritize of making sure you're making mindful choices. But that has to be really tough at times, especially when you're experiencing that exhaustion, to just not go and grab a cup of coffee or go and grab that energy drink. I don't know if that's something that you would have done before, but I know you drank coffee.
Mhm.
So having to remove that and then deal with this where other times in your life you probably just I'll grab a cup of coffee, I'll keep it pushing, I'll keep it going. It's not the case now.
I literally can't keep pushing, like, my body is not physically able, and yes, I miss being able to just grab a cup of coffee. I'm drinking decaf, I'm trying to trick my brain, but my brain knows better, and I you know, they say, like, you can drink some caffeine or whatever. I am very cautious. I was like this with Richard too. I'm very cautious with what I put into my body when I'm pregnant, which, as you should be, but I mean, God, I want a ham sandwich so bad. Like, I miss my sushi, and I know there are pregnant women out there that are like, "Just eat a ham sandwich, it's not a big deal," and I know, but in my head, I'm like, "I can't because I'm just such an anxious person."
Could it also potentially be a slippery slope? I don't know if you would experience this, but I know for me at times, like, I try to hold a really firm boundary on something I give in one time, and I'm like, "Wasn't that bad? I can do it a second time," and then that second time turns into a fifth time, and then while I'm just eating rolls of sushi with a side of ham sandwich
Oh
then.
my god, that sounds so good. No, that's oh, I didn't even think of that. But yeah, no, that's definitely a good point because as much as I've been resisting, I feel like giving in would be so much worse because then I would have a taste for it and then I would be like, I need more. Oh, that's a very good point. And also, speaking of restrictions, when I found out I was pregnant, I weaned off of my anxiety medication as well.
I love that you're gonna bring this up. This is something that I think was such a key point in this pregnancy, and I love that you're gonna share this.
Ugh. Yes, I didn't want to be on any medication. I don't like taking even before everything with freaking Tylenol, like, I really just I wasn't a f I tried not to. I just don't like to take medicine in general. I'm just, but yeah, I talked with my doctor at my first OB appointment when I first found out I was pregnant, and I said, I really don't wanna be on any, like, medication if I can help it, and so she weaned me off of my anxiety medication, and it was horrible. It was the worst experience, like, it was so bad, and, like, my husband was super supportive because he was like, "Yay, no meds, like, that's so healthy," and I don't remember how long it took, maybe, like, a couple months,
It was a
but
good go of it. It really was. Like, you tried the coping skills. You tried to white knuckle it through it and be like, "Okay, I just gotta get through the withdrawal part. I just gotta get through this next part." And you gave yourself some realistic deadlines with, "Okay, this is gonna get better. This is going to improve." So even from kind of the outside, you did those steps to be able to try and really make that informed choice too.
yeah, it didn't work though, and I beat myself up. It was a couple of months because I feel like I was out of the first trimester, and then I was struggling so much. It was affecting everything, my personal life. I was just sobbing uncontrollably. Every time like Richard has been on the same schedule, the 50-50 schedule for a couple of years now, and it's been totally fine. And now every time he would leave to go to his dad's, I would sob uncontrollably for like an hour. Like I could not, and I'm not talking sniffles, I'm talking like someone just killed my dog, like sobbing, and it was just awful. In my head, I'm like, "I know everything's fine. I don't know why I'm having this separation anxiety." And then it started where I would, like, drop him off at school in the morning and just cry the whole way home, and I'm like, "What is this, pre-K?" Like, it was awful, and then, I mean, it started affecting work. Like, someone would say something in, like, our supervision meeting, and I would have to, like, shut my camera off or walk off camera because it just made me cry the rest of the meeting for no reason. I had the worst intrusive thoughts to the point where I was having trouble leaving the house because I couldn't drive in the car. I couldn't drive and I couldn't ride in the car without thinking like a semi truck is gonna like hit me. And oh my God, it was so bad. I can't even explain it to you. Like the nightmares, I had a nightmare that we were driving in the car and we like drove off a cliff like, it was just and it was so real, and I woke up and could not calm myself down, and it was awful, and it was getting to the point where I was like, "I can't. I can't do this. I can't do this anymore."
A conversation that
Oof.
I'll remember having, and I really appreciate you sharing that. I remember having this conversation of, okay, at what point am I doing more harm than good of like being this anxious being so much that that might affect something at this point? Or, okay, do I show up better for myself, be under less stress, show better for my family and work, all those different areas that you had touched on in having to weigh that out. And sometimes that answer might be different for different people. It's all very unique. But I think that with you being able to express all of those different things because you had some support to be able to do that, it allowed you to make that informed choice rather than just kind of white knuckling it to try and get through. And then, goodness, what could have happened then? Maybe that had longer or more impactful negative things to begin with if you didn't make that change.
I think the final straw was I wasn't eating, and it wasn't, like, by choice, obviously, but the anxiety and depression it was making me so sick that Like, you would have thought it was, like, pregnancy morning sickness, which is kind of what I, like, let people think, because like, my family would go out to eat, and I would say, like, I'm just so sick," and nobody batted an eye because it's like, "Well, yeah, you're pregnant." But I was just under so much like, I was so anxious that I was sick to my stomach, and I couldn't eat anything, and, yeah, I would, like, get home at, like, 8 o'clock at night and just be like, "I didn't even eat today," and then there are those feelings of guilt of like, not only did I not eat, guess who I didn't feed? My baby. So, yeah, I finally like sat down with my doctor at my appointment and I lost it. And I was just sobbing in the office. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. And my doctor, and I don't even know his name, so I can't give him a shout out because I just call him the bow tie guy because he always wears a bow tie. But sat me down and he was so understanding. Like, he wasn't like, "So take your medicine then, it's fine." He said, "Your medicine, the dose you're on, is safe during pregnancy." Like, we've been saying this all along. It's safe in pregnancy. And then what he did that I really appreciated is he gave me the worst case scenario. And he was like, absolute worst case scenario. And obviously it wasn't that bad because I don't remember it. But he said, worst possible case scenario is like this happens and your baby is born with this, and then they just have to take medicine and it's fine. There's no long lasting effects, and that was really reassuring. But so then he was like, okay, I'm gonna put you back on this medicine. And that night I sat there and stared at this bottle of medicine for like an hour. Like, I could not get myself to do it, but eventually I did.
So it sounds like through that process, that was really tough to make that choice. And it does sound like between like family supports and provider support, you had some different supports. What do you think could be a takeaway for maybe if we lack some of that support? What are some ways that we can advocate for ourselves?
I am very lucky that I have a lot of support, but I mean, I really had to like sit down with my husband
Yeah.
and because he loved the idea of, me not taking any unnecessary meds. And I love this man, but he is not the most understanding when it comes to like mental health, which is so funny because he married a therapist, but he just, my blue collar man. But anyways, he just doesn't get it sometimes. And so I had to sit him down and be like, I understand your concerns. I am living with so much guilt right now about even considering this, but I am telling you that I know myself and this is not getting better and this is getting worse. And I understand you want to have a healthy daughter. But right now, where I'm at, like, you're about to not have a healthy wife or daughter. And I really had to put it, I know, I really had to put it in plain terms though, and be like, I don't know if I can like make it to the end of this pregnancy without my anxiety meds. I just don't think I can do it. And that helped just really putting it out there. Don't
Yeah.
like not sugarcoating it and be like, dude, I'm not eating. I can't drive places. Like, I
Mhm.
cry in the car because I think I'm gonna die. So yeah, just really advocating for yourself and
So I think a takeaway from that, or what I got from that, is being brutally honest
mhm,
and being able to be in tune with our body
mhm.
and be honest with ourselves so
Yeah.
then we can be honest with the people around us. Because it would have, I don't want to say would have been easy to, but it could have been that you just tried to suck it up and not let anybody in that situation and ignored it, shoved it down, and then there's that possibility of that something worse happening, especially when you talk about it impacted your food intake. That's something that is definitely a priority and something that you could have still just chopped up as, oh well, it's morning sickness. I'm fine. I'll eat later, and then we continue to hide those things. And so being able to think about just really being honest with ourselves and then the people around us and the impact that that is going to have. Many times when we let someone in, they're going to have more understanding of it, but like we talked about in the first part of this, that there is such a glorified thought of pregnancy
Mhm.
that people don't know the ins and outs of it. People don't know that that might be the depth of it. So I really appreciate you sharing the piece of how bad that got and how much it really took away because there's not a lot of conversation around that at all.
Also, something a lot of people don't know is I actually have a history of an eating disorder. So, as soon as I started not eating, I was cognizant enough and I was aware enough of myself to say, I think I'm spiraling back into this thing that I have struggled with since I was a teenager. And that can't happen in general, but like that can't happen while I'm pregnant. But anyone with an eating disorder knows you can't just suck it up and force yourself to eat. It's not how it works. So that when I say like me not eating was like the final point, that's because that's where I was like, no, this is going downhill really fast.
This is danger zone. I appreciate your vulnerability and sharing that. I think that also adds another layer of how these things stack up, where it's not just the anxiety that we feel, it's not just that guilt. It's okay, what have we experienced previous in our life? Could this be a trigger to
Mhm.
that? I mean, because you've had to have done significant work, that is a really big challenge. So the thought of undoing all of that is so scary.
Yeah.
Also, thinking about that, your brain has already gone there. We talk about multiple times of how our brain is, it loves to find the patterns in the cycle. Your brain could have really easily, if you weren't that mindful of it, could have fallen right back into that pattern and wouldn't have thought much of it. And when we talk about an eating disorder, there's so many things that go along with that of the hiding it, the shame that goes with it, the stigma. So already feeling the guilt and the anxiety, it would have just made it that much easier to fall back into that unhealthy pattern. Thinking about the ways that we can try and keep ourselves well or be mindful of that, can you think of any warning signs that I know that that last straw was the eating thing, but is there anything that you also saw even from like the beginning parts of like, okay, I'm not being as well or I'm not being as healthy, I'm feeling this guilt.
I think I was starting to withdraw a little bit. Like I wasn't really reaching out to people as much as I normally would just to chit chat. So I was definitely feeling withdrawn. But again, I didn't want anybody to know that I was struggling because this is beautiful and I need to be happy. And so, it's easier to just kind of take a step back. I also found myself to be a lot more snappy, if that makes sense. Like I was
The
snapping.
the irritability,
Yes, and
which
I
it
mean,
it could be disguised as just being pregnant too, because there's those,
yes.
the coin things that we just assume because the hormones and pregnancy.
And that's another thing that was really hard is, like, the people that I did confide in at first, I got a little bit of a pushback where it was like, "Girl, your hormones, like, they're all over the place, like, this isn't weird, it's totally normal for pregnancy," and I'm like, I get it, but it doesn't feel normal to me." I think that's also why I took so long because I was like, "Okay, is this my anxiety or is this the pregnancy hormones?" And it was very hard to kinda distinguish,
Yeah.
but once it started affecting my daily life, I mean, pregnancy hormones, they suck. They give you weird dreams, but, like, I was having nightmares every night, waking up in the middle of the night, like, shaking, sweating, like, that's not normal, and the all of a sudden afraid to go in the car, that's not normal, I feel. Like, this is me feeling like what's not normal for me, so this is myself saying, like, "Okay, this is more than pregnancy hormones."
I appreciate you sharing that. And I asked the piece of kind of thinking of some of those warning signs because it would be very easy to not share these things and not to let people in. So, anybody who is watching that might either be experiencing this or experience this in the future on both sides of being the person that is pregnant or being the supports around them, of thinking about the things that maybe the supports can notice of like warning signs of, okay, here's, the normal things that come with pregnancy. Ooh, what might be going beyond that? What might we need to reach out a little bit more? And I want to ask this, and you can agree or disagree with it, but do you think that it's easier to share those things when you're feeling comfortable and getting asked that and feeling comfortable with the person that is asking you that to be able to open up and share those things?
Hmm. Yes. This is why it is so important to make sure you are very comfortable with your doctor because my doctor that delivered my son, I was super comfortable with, and they stopped OB. So I had to switch and get a new provider for this pregnancy. And that was my one concern is I was like, I have to be 100% comfortable with this person. And I am, thank goodness. And so I feel very comfortable calling or messaging or asking while I'm there and just saying, like, is this normal? Is this normal? Is this normal? And sometimes I feel weird because I'm like, this is my second pregnancy. Like, I should know. But again, this is like a brand new pregnant. Like, this is brand new.
Yeah.
I'm old. Like, this is not like my first pregnancy. So I have asked my doctors, is this normal? Like, oh my God, I don't even know how often. And so when I went in there, I said, I don't know if this is just pregnancy hormones or what, but this is what I'm experiencing. And I told him everything. And he was like, this is not normal. And you should not have to be going through this. And that was what I really needed to hear because everything that I've asked, they've said, yep, totally normal. Like my sciatica, my back spasming, not being able to walk, like totally normal. And pregnant women will joke around about it. Like you go to the doctor and your arm falls off while you're pregnant. They're just going to stick it back on and say, that's totally normal during pregnancy. Like you're used to hearing that. But when I told my doctor what was going on, he said, no, that's not normal. And you need to do something. And I remember too, he looked at my husband because I said no at first when he asked to put me back on my Lexapro. That's what it was. I said no at first. And he looked at my husband and he said, if she gets any worse, wrap her up and drag her in here. You don't even need an appointment. Just bring her back in here. And that was where it was like, wow, is it worse than even I realized? Because my husband was like terrified. And so then I went home and talked it over with him. And then I called them and I'm like, hey, just kidding. Can you send that to the pharmacy for me? Thank you.
So, being able to think about some of the strengths that can come from just communicating these things, feeling that comfort with the provider, I think that's a huge piece to think about. If you're not feeling comfortable with that provider, I think it's really important to find someone that you are then comfortable with.
Switch. I switched when I was pregnant with
Yeah.
Richard.
Is that right?
Yes. I had a provider and was very like, you're on like just, in and out, in and out, in and out. I felt very unheard. Richard had issues that we knew about while I was pregnant. And I just felt like all my concerns were brushed off. And I switched at like 5 months pregnant. And I didn't know I could do that. I had no idea
Yeah.
because I was young. But yeah, no, I called to see about switching after he was born for like all my stuff afterwards. And they're like, you can switch right now. And I'm like, get me in. And then to see the difference of doctors who really genuinely care and listen,
Yeah.
it's a big difference. So yeah. Oh my God, biggest piece of advice if you're pregnant, if you are not comfortable 100% with your provider, switch. Don't do it.
So then you're able to have those tough conversations. Because I know, I mean, even just me in different experiences, when I've felt not seen or heard by the doctor, I don't feel comfortable then bringing that up. Or if there was even a sense of judgment or anything that was negative, just of bringing it up. Not even that it could have been something negative that needed to be worked on, but like if I didn't get a positive response and feeling comfortable in sharing what was going on, I shut down.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I know it's easy for me to do that and be like, okay, it's not that big of a deal, and then just bury it. So I can imagine with adding those layers of the guilt and stigma and everything like that, when being pregnant, it'd be easy to just say, okay, it wasn't that big of a deal. They're not concerned about it when you know yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So listening to yourself, listening to your body.
Yes, listening to yourself and listening to your body, 100%.
What a good topic.
I know, but it's so hard because I am so happy and I'm so excited for her to be here. And it wasn't like it was like you know, oops, guess we're pregnant. It was like, no, we were married and we wanted to have a baby together. And this is just so joyous. And I'm so excited for her to be here, but I'm not loving the pregnancy part of it this time around. And just, yeah, I have to keep telling myself, like, that's okay. Cause I've cried with my husband and been like, I'm an awful mother and she's not even here yet. But I just can't stop complaining. So, but it's not true, guys. I'll tell myself the same thing. I'll give myself a pep talk. It's not true. You don't have to enjoy every minute of pregnancy. And listen, I love it. Like, I love sitting on the couch at night and, like, my husband just puts his hand on my belly and we can feel her kicking. And it's just the most wonderful. Like, when my son first felt her kicking, like, there are such wonderful moments. but it's okay not to love every single aspect of pregnancy. That does not make you a bad mom. I'm telling this to myself. Hopefully someone else listens too, but yeah.
Yeah, what an impressive takeaway of that, of just being able to remind yourself and have that pep talk that you're doing the best that you can, and that's what we can do.
Yeah, but pregnancy will F up your body. Oh my god. Like, whew, you have no idea.
Funny, I had a kidney stone at one point, and my mom was like, "Oh, that like what giving birth is like," and I'm like, "And you choose to do that? Never." So, thank you to the work that the women do of providing life, but, like, I wouldn't sign up for it.
My husband is the most supportive person in the whole world. So he tells me all the time, like, especially when I'm complaining about things, he is so genuinely nice. And he will just say, like, I'm so sorry you're going through this, but like, thank you so much for carrying. He calls her our little coconut. He's like, thank you so much for carrying our little coconut. And like, thank you so much. And you're just so great. And I'm just like, thank like having a supportive partner is super helpful because when I'm feeling like garbage, like he makes me feel like I'm just superwoman carrying this coconut.
And in society, sometimes it can just be looked at as, well, that's part of being a woman is providing life and being able to have that gratitude and that recognition that it is really challenging, even though, yes, it's something that you even wanted to do, but there's some challenges that come with it, and there can
Mhm.
be some tough points. I really appreciate you sharing that. So, wrapping up, thinking about if there's anything that anybody would like to add, please leave some comments. And what a great topic to think about if we're going to be in this position, some takeaways. Thank you guys for joining us.
Yes, thank you. Leave us some comments and we will see you next time.